Welcome back to the Dog Sitter's House. Today I have another brave soul, Autumn from Loyal Companion Pets, who has been building her business for a year and a half, and it sounds like growing like wildflowers. And she started doing this part-time like many of us have. So she has 5 questions for me today that I bet a lot of you have out there. So stay tuned. We're going to go through them, see what they are. I don't even know what they are yet, and see what we can do to help her. And at the same time, hopefully help you. So thanks, Autumn. Welcome. I appreciate you coming. And tell me a little bit, or tell the audience a little bit, what you told me as to kind of your background of how you got started in this business and where you're at now.
Yeah, thank you so much, April. I'm so excited to be here and to talk with you because I'm like an avid viewer. Your content has been so helpful to me, as I told you when we first started talking. So my name is Autumn. I'm the owner of Loyal Companion Pet Services. We're based in St. Petersburg, Florida, and we service the entire Tampa Bay area around here. So we provide relationship-driven in-home pet care. It's very high touch. We care for your pet in the comfort of their own home. We try to stay on the same routines as them, and we stick with the same sitter each time. That way, they have a consistent like relationship. So we're very much into like relationship building, communication, and trust. And we really pride ourselves on that kind of experience, like not just being your average rover sitter. So before starting Loyal Companion, I actually earned my bachelor's degree in marketing and my MBA as well. I spent about 10 years in corporate tech marketing. I worked for multiple Silicon Valley tech companies. Honestly, absolutely hated it. But the good side is that for my mental health, I started pet sitting for friends and family. I was charging like $5, $10. I was just like, let me take your dog on a walk. I need this to clear my head. And I was like, this is so amazing. If only I could make a career out of this. And then one day I was complaining to my grandpa. And I was like, Grandpa, I hate my job so much, but I'm so dependent on this paycheck. And he was like, Autumn, you have an MBA, you have all this experience. Start your own business. I was like, Grandpa, I can't do that. He's like, yes, you can. And he was right. So
Aw.
I quit my job in corporate, burned every bridge that I had there, saw myself out, and started my own business a year and a half ago. And it has been such a dream. So I'm a first time business owner. I've never even been a boss. I've never been a manager. Everything is 100% new to me. But I actually really do feel like that experience I had in corporate really helped me with my business plus my education because I have a lot of experience with social media marketing, organic marketing, and event marketing. So I've worked in events as well. So a lot of the marketing experience I already had. So I think that's been one thing that has been really helpful in growing the business. Anyway, so at this point today, we are a team of 10, including myself. So I am the top dog, if you
Uh,
will.
I love
And then I have 9 sitters underneath me that all service the surrounding area. And where I'm at right now is I'm at the stage of where the business is growing, like you said, wildflowers, which I love that. It sounds so pretty. And I really want to keep scaling the business, but I don't want to lose that high touch, that trusting relationship we have. And I don't want to lose the quality. I don't want to get too big too fast and then we lose that special unique thing that has made us successful in the first place. So that's what I'm here for.
Okay, great, great. That's fabulous. Good job. And Grandpa gave me chills when you told me that story. That was so, oh, I love that. So, because a lot of times you'll find your family members, especially the parental or grandparents, they are worried about your stability and the definitive paycheck for
Yeah.
the children.
Yeah.
So, for him to just believe in you so much that he was like, yes, you can do it. That's
It
amazing.
changed something for me. I was like, wow, he just has complete confidence. And then my mom was like, yeah, he's right. You should do it. Like, why
Yes.
not?
Oh,
And thankfully, I already had some stability, like financial stability and everything from my corporate career. So I was like, you know what? There's no time like the present.
yeah. Oh, good, good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, to be clear, you do dog walking, pet sitting in the client's home. Do you also do drop-ins?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And I want to dial down a little bit more before you ask me your
Mhm.
specific questions. I want to dial in on what exactly makes you special that you're talking about. What do you mean by high touch? Give me more detail. I know you said the
Yeah.
same sitter, obviously in the client's home, but what else?
Yeah, so we are also, just to cover our bases, we're also licensed, insured, bonded. We're all certified, all of us certified in pet first aid and CPR. Many of us come from vet backgrounds. I myself don't, but I forgot to mention, I worked in multiple animal sanctuaries and shelters, just like I was volunteering there, and I've done that for years. I still do to this day. I've also volunteered with exotic animals as well, including apes, lemurs,
Oh,
gators. Yeah, so all kinds of fun.
gators. Ah.
Yeah, lots of animal experience all across the board. And then my sitters mostly come from vet tech backgrounds or animal care, animal rescue. We're all very involved with pet industry. Some of them are even groomers, things like that. So we all have like a lot of experience with pets. Also, a requirement that we have for working for Loyal Companion is experience and comfortability with working with reactive pets,
Mm.
special needs pets, handicapped, disabled pets that need constant care, also just like medically needy in general. So most of
Mhm.
us are pretty comfortable with administering medicine, including insulin, things like that, things that are a little more complex and need special care. And not only that, so that's our credibility piece, but aside from that, we're very communicative, we're very warm. We treat you like you're our friend, but in a professional sense.
Okay.
We send lots of pictures, lots of updates. We're fun, we're very consistent. Whatever expectation that they have, we always try to exceed. And I have a motto that I think has really, one of the things that has gotten us so far is that if the client has to ask for an update, we're not communicating well enough.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
They should never have to ask for an update. They should be able to just look at their phone and know and be like, "Oh, here's the update. Perfect. I've got
Uh,
no worries."
yeah.
That's what I that's what I think makes us so special, and that we truly care. We're all genuine animal lovers.
How often are they communicating with them or giving them updates?
Very frequently. So my general guideline is at the minimum morning, afternoon, and evening. I would say we always do more than that. We send lots and lots of pictures. We always update on how they're doing. Did they eat their breakfast? Did they eat their lunch? Did they eat their dinner? Did they get their meds? We go on a walk. Oh, we went on a walk. Calvin went poop. We give a lot of detail, but we also try not to bother somebody, of course. We don't want to be noisy at someone. So we're careful about what we update. We try to just tell them relevant things and try to keep anything irrelevant out. But yeah, we're updating pretty frequently. Yeah, with lots of pictures. I have never once had someone say, "Stop sending me so many pictures."
Do you send them by text?
Yeah, right now, so we are always in a group chat. So if it's just me and if it's one of my clients, it's just us over text. If it's my sitter, then we're in a group text. And that's what I mean by, well, we'll talk about it later, but I'm very involved with
Okay.
all of the jobs.
Yeah.
So right now we're in group texts and they'll be sending pictures through and updates, and I'll usually be like reacting, responding. And then of course, if the sitter has a question, that they'll usually come to me first. And then if I don't have the answer, then we go to the client. So that's kind of what I mean about being a little careful about what we communicate to the client. We don't want to add any unnecessary stress to them. So we'll always try to problem solve on our own first and then communicate, hopefully with a solution if there is any sort of problem. I try not to approach the client with a problem unless there's already a solution, unless I absolutely have to. For example, I had to take a dog to the emergency vet. Obviously, there's no solution other than I'm on the way to the ER, and
Right.
I need you to contact me. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Very good. It sounds like a lovely service, and obviously why, like you're telling us here, why you've grown so fast is because of such a high quality service it sounds like you provide. So
I
good job.
try.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you.
I can also see where you are so involved, how that is a big concern of yours to grow and maintain that because that would be difficult to do. So
A lot.
let's dive in then to your questions. Let's hear those out and then we'll kind of reorganize and go from there.
Yeah, well, I think this is the main theme here, but the I would say first question is how would you recommend that keep this scale, keep scaling without losing the level of quality, the level of consistency and trust that our clients expect? I'm so scared of growing too big too fast. Do you have any advice for that?
Uh, okay, so w- my response to that first is what would you say you hear the most feedback when customers give you feedback as to why they use you or if they referred you to somebody, whatever they told them? What would you say stands out in your head as to why they referred you or why they say they use you or they love you?
Communication. I think that's a huge one, and reliability, because we're not going to just be like, sorry, we can't make it. You know how some people are.
Yeah, yeah, at
I,
the last
I
minute.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, I think the reliability and the communication aspect, like the pictures that we send, we also are like really good at getting good pictures of their pets. And I'm
Oh,
always
good.
like, well, it's easy when you have little models in the house, and they love it.
They eat that
Yeah,
up.
I get a lot of, yeah. I get a lot of, actually, just yesterday, I was talking to a client. They had referred me to another client, and they were like, yeah, and that client ended up using me as well and was really happy, and they rebooked with me again. But they were telling her that I sent the most amazing pictures, that I showed up on time each time. And this was my client. What I didn't give it to a sitter, it was mine because it was a cat, and I love cats. So sometimes I steal them for myself. But yeah, they were both really pleased with me, and that was what they talked about, was the communication, the text updates. I would let them know when I was on the way. If I was running late in any way, I would let them know as soon as I could, and following all of their directions to a T.
Okay. Okay. So then really it's going to come down to, in my opinion, that you really want to take those, I would say those three things, the communication, which involves the pictures and the updates, the reliability, and the following their directions to
Mm-hmm.
T, right?
Yeah, yeah, that sounds accurate.
So if you could keep at least those three things at 100% level, a 10 out of 10, then would you feel comfortable saying that as you're growing, you're still keeping the quality that you're looking for?
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay. All right. So let's dive into some of the other questions and then we'll go from there.
Okay. So I know that this is a kind of a controversial topic, but right now, so I have 9 sitters that are working under me. They are independent contractors. And I know from watching your podcast and a couple of the other or your videos, I know a lot of you guys recommend that we transition to W-2 employees. My question is, I don't, and I mean this in a very genuine way, I don't know why. Like, why do you recommend that? And what is the advantages or disadvantages of doing so? And at what point should I do that? Because I don't even know how to go about that. First time business owner. I
Yeah,
don't know. Everything is a learning experience.
totally get that. Totally get that. Real quick on that one is I think you might be referring to a lawyer I had interviewed. I don't know if you saw that episode, maybe.
Probably.
Okay. So she may have touched on that. I don't normally touch on that too much because I don't want to give legal advice and be wrong about it since I'm not a lawyer or CPA or
Yeah,
anything.
yeah, that's understandable.
But I do know that you have to be very careful, and the IRS is smacking down on the independent contractors being used and double checking whether or not those independent contractors are truly fitting within the ramifications of what an IC is, right?
Okay.
So the IC, in my understanding, you cannot dedicate certain times for them to work. You basically just have to give them a deadline of when to get XYZ done, right?
Mhm.
So for me, that automatically rules out like you have to be at Susie's house to watch Fluffy from Tuesday to Thursday because that doesn't give them the freedom of being able to work whenever they want to get the responsibilities done, right?
Mhm.
They actually are being told they have to be somewhere at a specific time. That's my understanding. I could be wrong. So I just kind of take it like that. Now, there is a caveat to that, which I believe is that if you give them a time frame, like you could go between like 8 and like 12 for
Yeah.
or what or whatever, then
Mhm.
it's up to you what time you want to go between 8 and 12. As long as you get the job done and take care of everything, then that could work as well, possibly.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of where that's at. But honestly, that one I would refer you more to a CPA in
Okay.
town because they're going to be the ones to be able to walk you through the legalities of both of those options and how to set up W-2 if need be. And what's great about them is if you find a good one you trust, they can also handle the payroll.
Oh,
So
yeah,
yeah,
because that's another concern I have. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, take
So,
that off your hands right from the get-go so you're not bogged down with it.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to find a new CPA. I didn't like my last one.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, that's important. I think, that's one of the secrets to really good business is to have a really good CPA that you trust, that really knows the laws inside and out, that helps you limit your taxes as much as possible, right? So yeah, shop around, interview as many as you need to, ask people for references or referrals, what have you, and just
Yeah.
go hog wild on trying to find a really good one.
Go hog
Yeah.
wild.
So
No, that's great. I didn't realize the CPA was that important. I just hired one for my taxes and then call it a day. They didn't do a good job.
oh, and that's good. So now you at least have something to compare to.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Okay,
Okay.
what else you got?
I'll definitely shop around for one.
Okay, good.
Thank you for explaining that. I appreciate it. As we talked about, I'm very involved. So I think that sometimes I become the bottleneck. So I'm involved in every single meet and greet currently, uh,
Ooh, okay.
across 9 sitters.
In person?
Yeah, in person.
Wow. Okay.
I'm spending a lot of time traveling too because they're not all located near me. And also, our meet and greets are free.
Okay.
And I pay the sitters for their time. So
Oh,
every single meet and greet is just absolutely not sustainable the way that my meet and greets are set up.
okay.
I'm not making any money from them. However, I would say 99% of our meet and greets book.
Okay, good.
We don't have a high rate of them not booking with us. So
Good.
there is that at least. So I do
Okay.
consider it an investment into the business, into
Yes.
the booking.
Yeah.
But it's just a lot of time, a lot of gas, a lot of effort. During the meet and greet, I take very extensive notes and then I organize those notes and then send to the sitter and the client for their review along with their formal quote because I like to see the whole setup, go over any issues before I give them an actual quote. I give them general pricing information, but if they have medical needs, sometimes I want to see the whole process before I determine how much we should charge for it. So as you can see, this is just very time consuming on my part. So there's kind of two questions that I have. Well, I would say one of the other questions I have is very related to this. How can I let go of these meet and greets? But and I love my sitters and I trust them to an extent, but I don't trust them as much as I trust myself. And that's nothing against them. It's just I'm a control freak and this is my baby. What if they miss something? What if they don't seem as warm as I am? I get worried that they're not going to make as good of an impression on the meet and greet or miss some information that's important. The other part of that is safety because I feel very confident about myself. I'm in martial arts. I'm Florida, so I'm a gun owner, of course. I'm I'm not scared for myself, but I get scared. My whole team is all women and they're going into homes alone and meeting strangers. So I do care about their safety. So I was thinking, I like that I'm with them. Or if it's not me, having somebody else with them. So it's two people instead of just one person meeting a stranger in their home. But
Mm,
how do I afford that?
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
It's a
Okay. That's
lot.
a big
That's a
one. That's a big one. Yeah.
lot.
Um, I mean, I can see a couple of things that we can go back through here to start digging away at it, chipping away, and seeing if we can find some solutions for you. I totally understand your concerns. As a business owner, we're never going to feel like someone's going to do as good of a job as we are, ever, 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 because it is our baby, right?
It's like a baby.
Yes. Yes, and so of course we're going to care about it way more than somebody else's. However, like you said, you've already done a good job identifying that you're becoming the bottleneck because of that, right? Because I'm sure it's hard to coordinate schedules sometimes because you have to be so many different places
Yes.
at once now, right?
Yeah. And I pet sit myself. I haven't
Yeah.
stopped pet sitting. So I have my own jobs that I'm doing. So it just gets to be a lot. And then I'm also the one organizing the notes and doing the quoting and emailing them the information. So then they're waiting on me to get
Yes.
all of that. But if I left a visit an hour away and then I've got three other bookings, I'm not going to get a chance to do any of that admin work until 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, which is when you pretty much always see an email from me, is late at night because that's
Wow.
the only time that I even have. And sometimes I can't even get to it same day, you
Okay.
know.
Okay. Woo. Okay. I can
The
see your
good thing is that
struggles.
merged that's two questions into one.
I
So
love it. That's a good one. Okay. I do like, just a side note before we move on, that you do offer this for free, and you said that you get 99% of them booked, because I can see the argument people make for making money during the meet and greet, since they do take time, gas,
yeah.
all that stuff. Uh, but there's this law of reciprocation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
It's a two-way interview.
exactly. And really, in order, as a business owner, it's my belief that you're going to earn people's trust quicker and easier when you're willing to be the one to give more first. Right? So you're giving more of your time, your gas, your mileage, your wear and tear on your car. You're doing all of this up front for free, right?
Yeah.
You're earning their trust. You're earning their business. You're showing them how dedicated you are and how professional you are and how thorough you are. You're showing them all of that. And this could, in my opinion, be why you get 90, besides the fact that I'm sure they love you guys, but it's a factor involved as to why you're getting 99% of your bookings. Because
Yeah.
if they go with another competitor who's charging them, they might be a little stilted if they have you coming for free.
Right,
They have
right.
XYZ company coming in and charging $50 or what have you, $30 even.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, these other people are willing to hustle for this and to give
Right.
before they're looking to get. So
Yeah.
it's just the beautiful effects of the law of reciprocity, because it works 99% of the time, and I love it. So
Yeah, I mean, the only time someone doesn't book, gosh, I don't even know. I can't even remember the last time someone didn't book. I have had someone had to cancel their trip, but
sure.
then they rebooked with me in the future.
Yeah.
So it was still an investment. It was just a longer term investment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think back in the day before I started sharing pricing information like online and everything, people sometimes would just try to shop around. But now I'm like, I have more hoops in place before we do the meet and greet. So that way I'm like
Okay.
eliminating anyone who's just trying to price shop or just trying to shop around. The other thing that I do is that if they have a specific booking request, like they have a date, we do a free meet and greet. If they're looking to just have a sitter established, then I do charge for the meet and greet, but I only charge $30. So I'm not charging an insane amount. It's pretty much hardly ever that. And I always tell them, if you don't have a specific date and you're just looking to get established, we do charge for that.
All right, let me ask you a real quick question on that one before I forget. When you set up the meet and greet for somebody who already has a date established, do you determine who the sitter will be for those dates for that customer?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's the
And I,
sitter that goes to the meet and greet, right?
yep. Hmm.
Okay. What were you
Yeah.
gonna say?
And I don't like assign them. I don't pick and choose. I offer. I have a group chat with all my sitters in it, and then I'm just like, "Hey, I have this job. Does anybody want it?" So it's not like they get to pick and choose. So that's why one way that I try to make sure that I'm respecting them as contractors is they pick and choose what works for them. And yeah, so they get to pick that, and then I won't even confirm the meet and greet if we don't have somebody available,
Yeah.
which doesn't really happen because we have such a big team.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. So when they choose, if someone raises their hand and says, "Yeah, I'll do that one," then they know they're signing up for being the sitter for this
Yep.
client forward as well for future
Yep.
dates. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That I'm fascinated by. How do you keep the same sitter? What if they have two clients that they're normally doing that need them at the same time?
Yeah, so it's not 100%. I would say we have a primary. This is the primary person that you'll work with. If your next booking she's not available, then we'll introduce you to another sitter, or
Okay.
it'll be me, depending on the situation. But I always introduce them ahead of time and I give them that option. I'm never sending in someone that the client doesn't know because I
Right.
trust my sitters, but they don't know them. So I don't,
Right.
and like I said, a lot of our pets are special needs and reactive and stuff. So we require a meet and greet. If the main sitter isn't available, then we will change sitters with the client's approval and meeting of it. But then it's actually
Okay.
nice because then they have a backup that's not me.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So just throwing this out there, have you ever thought about having your primary and your secondary backup sitter for a client do the meet and greet together without you?
Yes, I have. That is my idea, but I'm still scared. And I would have to pay both of them for a free meet and greet. So, it's just more money that I'm
Yeah.
spending from the business. I think it would probably be worth it. Financially, it would be worth it for me to have some of my time back. But what if, and I do think my thought process is having two of them together will make them more accountable as well. I would think so. And then if one person is missing something, then the other one might pick up on it.
Mhm.
Um, and just having two people for safety as well, like we talked about. So I
Yes.
have thought of that. I haven't implemented it because it's so hard to loosen the reins.
Well, let's dive in on that. What's going to happen? Let's go out a year from now and say you keep doing this and you haven't loosened those reins. You haven't
I
jumped off
have
the cliff.
I have to, April. It's not sustainable.
Exactly. Tell me, what are the consequences you're going to suffer from not doing that for the next year?
Oh my God. With If we continue growing the way that we are now, I will spend all of my time driving and doing meet and greets. That will take up all of my time. It just I won't even have time for my own pet sitting or and honestly, I know some bosses are like, "Oh, I don't actually want to be the one pet sitting." I still do want to pet sit. I love doing this. Sometimes I need a break.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't want to just be the boss who doesn't actively work in the field, basically. I actually still want to work in the field. So that would take up time away from that. And,
Not
you know,
only that, while that's taking time away from that, even when you're there, if you're having to work on scheduling your time and worry about writing up all the notes and everything for these meet and greets, how is that going to affect the quality of service that you're
right.
able to give to your pet sitting clients?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I could be my own worst enemy.
Yes, yes. Which
Worrying
goes
about the quality.
Yeah, which directly goes against your priority of keeping that high quality touch,
Yeah.
right?
April, I think you're doubling as my therapist right
Uh,
now.
Good. That's my
Calling
goal.
me out. You're calling me out, and you're so right.
Well, fear is huge, right? It comes up
Yeah.
in everything we do. And running your own business is, I've said it before, it's personal growth on steroids because you are forced to face these fears that keep coming up and they may look different. They're different consequences and whatnot. But either way, it always comes back to dealing with being able to take the courage to walk through that fear and face it and just do it. And then knowing that you have the resources, the capability, the intelligence, the experience, the creativity to solve any problems that might come up and figure it out as you go, right? So,
Yeah.
so tell me in the past, what have you overcome before that your challenges in your business? If you had known you were going to have to face those challenges before you took the leap to put yourself in that situation in the first place, maybe you never made them, but once you were there, you had no choice but to persevere, right? So in
Yeah.
the past, like give me one example of something in the past that was a challenge for you and how you overcame it. Did you use creativity, resources? Did you dive in and learn something somewhere? What?
Oh my God, there's so many examples of it. So why am I doubting myself?
Exactly. Exactly. So you already get my
Definitely.
point.
Yeah, not just in pet sitting. I can think of a few examples with this business, but even prior to that, my experience in corporate, and I came from not a very privileged background. I've worked really hard to overcome everything from what I grew up with and move forward and build this successful business and be stable and happy and healthy. That's an incredible feat in itself. It really is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, there's a lot of examples in the business that I can think of. I mean, just having this business in general, but even hiring sitters in the first place was, I would say, the first one, which I did around the holidays because I had so much demand. And I'm like, I don't want to say no. I want to be able to say yes.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started. And my first two sitters were friends of mine. So they were people I knew and trusted. And both were involved in animal care. So
That's
I trusted their abilities. And that has paid off so much because they're wonderful sitters. They still are working for me now and are extremely reliable. I don't doubt them in any sense. I would say the original ones that I hired, I probably would trust with a meet and greet by themselves, actually.
yeah,
Now that I'm
like
thinking about it.
100%, or at least
Yeah.
99.9%. Yeah.
Right. The
Yeah.
ones that are a little newer, not that there's anything wrong with them. I just don't have that established trust with them yet. So maybe it's something like I do the meet and greets for the first few times with them so that they can see how it's supposed to be done, what I expect of them, and then have them go on their own with a backup sitter. Maybe I can do
Absolutely.
that.
I love that. And then also what
The
you just told
compromise.
me. What?
It's a compromise.
Yeah. No, it's great because what I heard while you were just telling me all that is that when you had this huge fear of hiring people for the first time, you started with two people that you already knew and trusted. That was
Right.
kind of like dipping your toes in the water, right? And
Hmm.
and who's to say you can't do that in the same exact situation?
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
you could start with sending those two out together on a few, see how
Yeah.
that goes, start building up your confidence. And then, like you said, I think that's a great idea to start going with the ones that are newer. But then also, after the first two, maybe, then, or even the first one, depending on how well it goes, or
Yeah.
how much courage you have to jump off the cliff, is then on the second one, you shadow them. So you get to see how they perform. You get to see how warm they are and give them feedback, right?
That excellent idea.
Because think of it like a dog trainer, right? Like I don't know how familiar you are with dog trainers.
Very.
Okay. I would guess, but right, they go in and they train the humans, not the dogs, right?
Right.
So when they're trained, like to me, a good dog trainer is somebody who has the human do what they taught them and they watch them and then they give them critical feedback, right?
Hmm.
Because that to me is the best way to learn is that someone watch me do what you just taught me and then point out where I need improvement. Because
Yeah.
it's so hard for us. Like when I first learned how to train a dog, I thought I was doing everything exactly like the guy told me to do. And I was all proud of myself. Like, I got
And he
this.
was like, no.
Yeah. And he's like, wrong, 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 and wrong. And I'm like, what? So, so same thing with your sitters, right? And just you can even use that analogy for them so that it kind of softens the blow because it's hard for people to hear that critical feedback. But let them
Yeah.
know going in, hey, this is only to make you better because you
Right.
can't see yourself in a mirror while you're doing this, and
Right.
I can, and you don't know what you don't know. So I'm going to point it out for you, and it's not personal, it's just to make you better.
Yeah. And the way that I give feedback is I try to do the compliment sandwich.
Yeah,
You know, I
that's
try
great.
to really
Yeah.
be encouraging, positive, and I try to not necessarily say, don't do that, but I'll just say, oh, do this instead.
Yeah,
Just
perfect.
this the way that I word it so that it's a little more positive. Because I've had really, I've had bosses that were very harsh with me. And sometimes it's so distracting how it makes you feel that you're not really hearing the feedback. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
careful about that.
You're already a natural at this, so that's good. That's good. You're gonna do great with that. I would really start with dipping your toes in the water with the ones that you trust 100% almost, at least. And then do that one or two visits, maybe three tops, and start
Hmm.
getting them trained. Start getting them trained on taking all that information. Transfer that responsibility of compiling the notes
Yeah.
over, and maybe at first you can review them, but hopefully over time you can get it to the point where they can just be sending it in a group email CCing you to the
Yeah.
customer, right? They should even be able to price it. Don't you think they can do that if you train them?
I think so, as long as I have, which I have a price sheet basically so that they could follow. So yeah, I think they could. Maybe they send it to me for review.
Yeah.
I
At
don't know.
first, at
Okay, okay.
first,
That might be step two.
yeah. Well, they could send it to you like, this is what I think. Can you
Yeah.
double check it? And then you can yay or nay. And once you see that they got this down, you're gonna be like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is
Yeah.
too time consuming, and you guys always get it right. So,
Mhm.
yeah, and it'll be so much easier for you to let it go then, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
really what you're doing here is working on a way to build your trust in your team's capability so that you can let go.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that you don't trust them.
Right. It's not about them. It's about me.
Exactly. Exactly. So you're building your trust muscle because it is your baby, because you are an entrepreneur and every entrepreneur loves to be a control freak. That we wouldn't be entrepreneurs if we weren't, right? That's one of our strengths, but it can also be a downfall in these situations.
Oh, that's so true.
So embrace it and just learn, okay, this is how I am. It's okay. Now, what do I need to do to help myself overcome this when
Yeah.
it's causing a bottleneck, when I'm being the bottleneck here?
Right.
Right. And so, okay. All right,
That's
fabulous.
wonderful advice. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I will definitely be implementing
I'm
that.
not even really giving you much advice. You're just answering your own questions. So it's great. You're doing good.
It is
Keep it
like
up.
therapy.
All right, well, that was question three. Where are we on number four?
At this point, I've grown so much and I am spending a lot of time scheduling, and I have unfortunately messed up scheduling a handful of times because it's
Because you're
manual
Russian or,
and I'm busy.
yep.
So, how I'm thinking maybe it is time to try to get a software and make it more automated, but I also worry that it'll lose some of that thing that makes us special.